All right, music fans, welcome. Harmless Dave here on the Harmless Dave channel, talking about real music related stuff and doing what I do in real time for a few real people out here, just like you there and like me here. So I was listening to this podcast, really cool interview with former Eagles member, maybe still in the fold, not sure, talking about Bernie Ledden. I mentioned Bernie a few times, and people are like, who? So he's talking to this guy, Dylan Weldon. All right. And I'm going to play this audio because Bernie says something here very casually about Glenn Frey. All right. About something Glenn Frey did prior to his passing. All right. So they're talking about the relationship and how that all kind of fell apart. But, Bernie got back together with Glenn and went on tour with the Eagles for a number of months. Let's just pick up the conversation, and then I'm going to make some comments here.
And about halfway through that, we talked for maybe 20, 30 minutes. Halfway through that conversation, Glenn said, I got your letter. So then I did go out. We did 7 weeks rehearsal, and I played live shows with them for 25 months, did 175 shows.
Wow.
And at the last show, he gave me a big hug and said, it's been great having you out here, and this is not the end. But he passed away a few months later because he had bad rheumatoid arthritis. So he took a drug that experimental drug or something that he reacted to. So anyway, but he didn't live.
All right. So if you heard that, Bernie says he took an experimental drug and he had a reaction to it. So, I mean, that's the first time I've heard that. I know that Glenn's wife was suing the hospital, Mount Sinai Hospital, and Dr. Stephen Itzkowitz claiming negligence in the treatment of her husband's ulcerative colitis, which, according to Search Assistant, Wikipedia, which contributed to his death in January of 2016, the lawsuit alleges that the hospital failed to properly diagnose and treat his condition, leading to significant suffering and ultimately his demise. But Bernie says there was a drug, an experimental drug, which Glenn took and had a reaction to. So that's kind of breaking news if it's true. And I wonder if there's some kind of little cover up here. Because again, the world of big pharma, folks, I'm sorry, I think you should exhaust every option, and maybe that is what Glenn was doing. He had tried everything, and they said, hey, try this experimental drug. But then, the way it's worded here by Bernie Ledden, who I'm sure had more insight than most people had to the situation, especially now that he and Glenn were reunited, and Glenn is saying, yeah, this won't be the end. We'll do this again. And that was it. After Glenn passed, that was it for Bernie, and that was it for Glenn, obviously. So some interesting stuff here. I don't know. Maybe Bernie wasn't supposed to say what he said, but this raises some questions about the treatment that he had, and if this particular experimental treatment for rheumatoid arthritis contributed to his untimely death. We don't know, but Bernie just said stuff, so I'm covering it. I thought this was very tragic when it happened. I think a lot of people were surprised, and I'm still surprised, and I'll be even more surprised if this treatment, so-called treatment, exacerbated the problem, which in much of what this, whatever you want to call it, this industry does, I'm talking about big pharma, is they don't treat the cause, they treat the symptoms, and a lot of times they fail, all right? They don't cure anything, they just make people feel maybe a little bit more comfortable. Maybe psychologically, the people feel as though, hey, I'm on the road to recovery here. If you're going to test a drug, by the way, you might, I'm sorry to say this way, you might not want to test it on somebody who's really well known like this, because if it doesn't work, I'm thinking word is going to travel fast, right? You would think. But if it was a cover up, then, maybe Bernie let the cat out of the bag. Maybe this was, by the way, this may have already gone out there, but I don't remember reading that he tried an experimental drug for his rheumatoid arthritis. So I don't know, folks. The mystery, of course, continues. And I don't even think Cindy Frey has settled that lawsuit yet with the hospital. Maybe there was a settlement. Um, but it's too bad that this had to, happen the way it happened, because my guess is it didn't have to happen this way. That's just my hunch, but who knows? I'm probably wrong. All right. So there you have it.